Today's episode will be short and sweet as I take a look at big swing setups developing on Aussie dollar, US dollar and Aussie dollar, Swiss franc. I also have an update on the gold trade from last week, and then we got some action from my Discord trading room. Enjoy. Alright, so this week I'm going to focus on Aussie dollar pairs, and I did cover Aussie dollar, US dollar a bit earlier in this year. And it's quite a few months later, but I still have the same trade idea as I did earlier in the year. As I mentioned before, after this market had this big distribution up here, it's busy coming down, and I believe eventually that we're going to be taking these lows down here. However, the market doesn't have the steam or the momentum to get there in one go, and I believe a bigger correction is on the cards now. This high was printed back in January 2018, so it's almost been 2 years of a slow grind down, and I think this is just going to end up being a bit of an expanding flat correction, perhaps to this level up here. So quite a big move we're expecting on Aussie dollar before we're going to go down, and this move here should also take around about a year to complete. So this is a very long-term trade and very hard to catch it perfectly, but if you do catch a trade like this, it's definitely a big payday. Now we're going to be focusing on the lower time frames quickly. Now moving down to the daily time frame, we're at the 113 extension of this last move up if I use the daily closes or the daily bodies to draw my fib. And we had those lows being taken, and after this market had this big impulsive move, it came down again to clear all these lows down here. Now we're not 100% certain, it could still go a bit lower, we don't know, but we're going to be watching next week after this impulsive move if we have a bit of a correction, and maybe then we will have a chance to enter here with a very tight stop, considering that we're going for, I think it's nearly 2,000 pips to the upside. Alright, so another thing to note, if you do have an oscillator on your chart, there's pretty much divergence on every time frame, all the way down from the weekly to the 1 hour. And as you guys can see, these were the clean lows that we cleared last week, and it actually, on a smaller time frame, even cleared these lows down here. And this was the last sort of liquidity run, and where that started was this block over here, and this is the breaker block. So what we're going to look for next week is a bit of an ABC correction or any sort of reversal pattern. And then here we're going to switch down to the even lower time frames and see if we can get a nice little reversal pattern over here to catch that 2,000 pip move to the upside. Again, we're going to have to see how the price action develops, but Aussie dollar pairs will definitely be my focus on at least for the remainder of this year. And I also want to take a look at Australia dollar Swiss franc. It's pretty much exactly the same setup. We got this big, small, slow grind, and we actually cleared these lows before having this impulsive move up. And I also believe that this is going to go higher and eventually clear these clean highs into this weekly order block we have over here. So definitely this price action here is corrective. It's in a range, and I don't think we're going to be crashing down lower. I'll only be looking for longs next week. But let's go down to the smaller time frames on this one to see how this one is setting up. Alright, so jumping to the 4 hour on this one, this red line you have here is that big weekly liquidity level that we spiked. And we actually also, on a lower time frame, we spiked that another time, clearing all these lows. And the price actually came back into this breaker level, that ran the stops. And similar to the Aussie dollar, US dollar, what we're going to look for next week is corrective price action, perhaps one of our little reversal patterns to this 4 hour order block over here. And this is where we will be looking for some perhaps 5-minute price action. Like I said, this isn't guaranteed. Maybe we make another low here, so we're definitely going to have to see how this price action develops. But any sort of corrective pattern over here should be a good sign. Now, there's no big Australian dollar news this week, so this will probably be triggered by news out of China. Any good data from China, or perhaps the trade war that's called off, will be very positive for the Aussie dollar and for Australia. So look out for those headlines, so you can time this one and grab this one if it plays out. And then finally, I just want to update you guys on gold. I did cover gold in last week's episode, and it played out quite well this week. And nothing's really changed. We're still looking for lower prices. After the market ran these highs at 1555, we're expecting a bit of a correction, at least to 1450, or perhaps even to 1350 if we have a big rally in the stock market. Perhaps if the trade wars gets called off. But the level we had marked last week was this 115 level, and we had quite a nice little spike into that area. we had the consolidation, and then we could have had quite a nice little entry there. But yeah, still looking for lower prices on gold, so also one we will be watching to see how it develops next week. That's it from me, guys. See you guys in the trading room.